All right, let's get started today. Again, just a couple announcements as we get started. Um, Experience fair is going on down in the far side of the student union. There are lots of good volunteer and international studies stuff. I was just down there promoting our Ireland program. So if you're interested in doing Ireland, you should do that. We do Ireland in the spring for our 90 days, basically the whole semester there. So it's a really cool, fun program there. The club crawl is tonight. So if you aren't in a couple clubs, you should consider that. There, what's your favorite club? Are you in clubs yet? No? What's your favorite club?
My favorite club so far, I love the technology club.
Yeah.
We do movies occasionally. They bring soda, chips. We do a VR session.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. I also love the snacks. They let you take as many as you want. And when the event's over, they're just like, take everything you want.
Right.
And yes, that one's my favorite. And then I also love math club. But maybe that's just because I'm a huge nerd for Sudoku. I love Sudoku. So
Okay.
yeah, thank you for that. So I would highly recommend the tech club and technology club and definitely the math club if you like Sudoku.
Right.
If you don't understand it, learn it.
Yeah.
It's really fun. And chess club. Chess club is really fun. It's very UV friendly. So yeah.
Okay. Other people, do you have a favorite club? You're the same one? Yeah. Right. Good. So, all right. And then STEM Fest is over at UMD. And again, there'll be different companies over there. You can walk around, visit with them, pick up their free stuff there. DigiKey was actually, did anyone go to the DigiKey presentation yesterday to get the free pizza? Yeah, that was good pizza, wasn't it? Did you get any bling? Did you get any, like, I picked up the little DigiKey charger because it had USB, USB-C, different charging ones. Yeah, so, right. So when you go to these events, you should pick up some of the free stuff because if you talk to people there, what they hate to do is drag that stuff like all the way across country and then have to drag it all the way back there. So they actually want you to take some of their free stuff so they don't have to keep dragging around places. So you are doing them a favor that way. So, all right. So hopefully today we won't have a fire alarm and we'll try to get caught up here. We fell a little bit behind, but that's okay. So learning materials, we're going to start Unit 2, learning materials here. We're going to look at Part 2 here, getting input from the user there. I'm going to click on this Think Java Scanner Class 1 and look at that here. We're going to do keyboard input here. Java has kind of a primitive input system. One of the things to remember with Java and our print and our input is that most real programs are never going to use the inputs we use. We're using very primitive console-based inputs. Real Java programs, you'd have a user interface with buttons and text boxes, and you'd type in those and that sort of stuff there. But those are hard to set up when you're first programming. So we try to keep things very simple, and we do these kind of console-based programs where our apps are just running into this little terminal window, we call it. They're very primitive stuff. It keeps it somewhat simpler here to do. But again, just it also is, sometimes students want to do stuff they can't do. And the reason why is that the more advanced systems are, all real software is developed for like a GUI kind of, a graphical user interface or stuff like that. So like yesterday I was teaching my mobile apps class, and we do that in Java. But we do phone layouts, and so we're laying things out in phones and having buttons and sliders and stuff like that, and tying them into Java. But again, it takes us a whole page of text just to do be able to read something from the screen sometimes. So what do you have to do to read something from the user inputs? We declare what is called a scanner here. And this is going to read from the input. So this is what we, as a variable. Now I mentioned variables are integers, strings, doubles. I didn't mention scanners. So there are a number of other classes that we have variables for, and we'll see more of them, but one of them is scanner. So we say scanner, we say the variable name, we give it whatever name we want, and then equals, we do some initialization. And again, we haven't seen this format before, but we will, as you do more work with objects and object-oriented programming, this is pretty common. We have to create a new scanner object. So we say new scanner, and then we say where it's coming from, and system.in is your keyboard there. Now, if you wanted to read from a file or some other system, or like over the internet there, you would say new scanner, and then you'd have some other variable there that you'd maybe have to set up ahead of time to open up this file or set up this link to some URL on the internet you're reading from. But we're just reading from the keyboard. So we'll always do this command here there, but we'll tend to call it input here, not in for this. Now, let's start this. Now, I'm going to be going through this example input version over here and talking about doing the same sort of stuff. So if you want to see that code, the code samples here, and the video of Chris, he's right in the class next to us teaching full stack. I think full stacks right now. I think that's what he's teaching over there. So he's over there. So you get me instead. But this is the example he's walking through here also. So we're going to do the same thing here. So again, I'm going to close off these old ones and do a new project. And I could overwrite these, but again, sometimes I like to keep these separate here. So I'm going to do a new project, hit next, called it unit 2 input. Have it set up again. I'm going to clear out some of these comments so it's a little easier for you to see things. You can leave those comments here. I just think for as beginning students and me showing examples, it's sometimes nice to kind of just show what's required. So this is what's required. So we're going to declare an input. So we're going to do a scanner. And we're going to call it input. And we're going to say new scanner and system. And now, again, you can start seeing so. So I start typing SY, I can hit dot, and then it'll fill in the rest. And I can type out, or I can just go down to out and choose out here. It has the end parenthesis. I just need a semicolon at the end for this. But it's still saying that it doesn't know scanner, doesn't know what scanner is. And so sometimes when we're using other libraries like this, we have to do what is called an import statement at the top. And so like in our textbook, you'll see that here, they'll say you have to add this to the top of your code. And then here we'll see that same thing here. So we can just type that in here, but your program should be smart enough. So if I just click on the little suggestion here, the first one is add import. So I'm just going to do that because I'm lazy. So that'll add the import, add this line to the top. So here's my import statement. Here's my scanner here.
Why don't you have to import system?
Yeah. So there are some things that are built into Java, like double and it. So there are some core Java elements, and system is a core Java element there. But there are some things that aren't part of the core Java library. And so scanner is one. And one that you're saying, well, it seems like it'd be very important. It is for you, but for most programmers, real programs are not going to do keyboard input this way. So it's not part of the core Java one. So, okay, it's still underlying this. And so it is saying, I think I did some
system.out.
Oh, I did system.out. Yes, it should be system.in. Okay, it'll be happier now. Okay. So yes, so it should be system.in. Out is where we print. In is, of course, where we read in. Again, it's still giving us a little warning here saying we declared input, but we haven't used it yet. So now this isn't so bad. It's doesn't have a red stop sign on for that. So now I can read in some values here. Now I want to do a prompt. I'm going to ask the user to enter something. So I'm going to say system.out.println. I'm going to ask them to enter their name. Enter your name. Now, if I run this, it'll say enter your name down at the bottom, and then it'll quit. It's all done there. But I want to then read their name and store it in a variable. So I need to decide what kind of variable do I want to store their name in. So is their name an integer? Is it a decimal? Is it a string of characters? Is it a Boolean? Those are my choices. So it's a string of characters, right? So I'm going to make a string variable, string, and string is capitalized. Everything else is lowercase because string is special. Their string, I'm going to give it some name. I'm just going to call it name, I guess, there. And I'm going to go input dot next like that. I'm going to go next line. Sorry. I'm going to do next line. So what that declares is a variable called name, and then it'll wait for the user to enter something in that variable here, and they'll be able to type something in. We'll store it in this memory under the tag name in that variable. And then I can print out your name. I'm going to do a system.out.println. And I'm going to say, hello there. Oh, not hell. Hello there. And then I'm going to print off their name. And so I'm going to end the quotes and I'm going to do plus and then print off their name. So, and then I guess I need a semicolon. And maybe I need to spell print line correctly. There. Okay. So now if I run this down to the bottom, it'll say enter your name, and it's still running there. I can see it's still running because the green run button is grayed out. So it's still executing here. There's a stop button down here that I could stop it and interrupt it, but I'm going to click in here. So notice my cursor is up here. I'm going to click and make my blinking cursor down here and enter my name, Tom, and hit enter. And it says, hello there, Tom. So that's how we do input here. We declare a scanner, and then we use that scanner to read in information. So let's go back to this. So here we're using our scanner class. Here's our textbook. Here's our new scanner declaration. And again, this textbook called the scanner in. We called the scanner input. So we'll see some differences there. Here's their variable. They import scanner. They have a main class here. They're declaring a string called line. They're declaring their new scanner. They're saying type something, and they're saying in dot next line. Now we did input because we declared this as input. Secret stuff. Some of the AIs prefer certain things for the scanner. So if you're using AI, I can often tell which AI you're using by what the AI names the scanner. So if you're using AI, we're always going to use input. So in your prompt to AI, you should say, we name we in our class, we use input as the name of the scanner. So just be aware of that as you're working on things. So, okay. So here's called in for this. And again, it tries out you said, and we print off that line. So, yeah. It talks a little bit about classes and stuff like this and inputs. This is good to read, but not necessarily required here. Talks about reading in other things. So let's look at some other ways. So next line, we'll read a whole line of text, even with spaces. So if I run this and I type in Tom Gibbons, it'll read in that whole thing there. Now, there's also a next, not a next line. So if I run that, and I type in Tom Gibbons, it's only going to read to the first space, actually what we call a white space, a tab or a space or a break or something like that. So it'll should read just Tom. So it'll just say, hello there, Tom. So next is for a single, basically like a single word without spaces. Next line is a whole line here. So if I want to read, so if I type in next line, I can type in what is your name? My name is Tom Gibbons. Don't you know that? It will read in that whole sentence as into the name variable. Whatever it reads in the whole line of text. But if I did next without the line there, it is always just going to grab just the first word. So it's going to grab my, and it's read the letters until it gets to a white space, a space, or like I say, a tab or something like that. And then it's just going, oh, that's enough. And it's going to stop. If I were to do another input, it would read the next part of this or this. So there's next and next align. I'm going to switch this back to next line here for reading in strings. There's also this is a next int. So let's talk about that. I have to look and see what Chris did as an example. He did the favorite color. Oh, what's your favorite number? Okay, we'll add, that's exciting. Okay, so now we'll ask, what's your favorite number? System, not out, that print line. What is your favorite number? Okay, and so then I'm going to print that out here, or I'm going to read that in. So now if I'm reading a number in, I should do either a double or an int. I'm going to guess their favorite number is integer. Because I ask you what's your favorite number, are you going to say, maybe you'd say pi, but I'm going to just make you do an integer. So we're going to say that, and maybe I should have said, so I'm going to do an int, favorite number equals here. Now I'm going to actually do this in 2 steps this time. I'm going to go int favorite number, and then I'm going to go favorite number equals input dot next int for this. Now, sometimes you get these errors and I keep getting this error in the final line. I keep wondering why. And so sometimes you'll look at this and you'll see it. You go, oh yes, I see my error. I did this, right? But sometimes you're going to have trouble here. So I don't know if you can see what my mistake is. Can you tell why I keep getting an error in this final line? And again, the error is kind of weird. It says reached end of file while parsing. So what does that mean? So again, so if you don't know what it is, and I accidentally deleted that, I can look at my brackets, that matches up here. And again, same with here, there's not a bracket at the end here. But again, maybe I don't know that. So I can ask AI. So this is one help is that when you get some weird error and it's not telling you, this is a good spot to use AI here. So can you tell me what the error is here? And I'm just going to paste in my whole program. And then I'm going to tell it what the error message is, I guess. I don't need to in this case. So it is reached end of file. The error is reached end of file. Okay, and again, reach in the file usually means Java has expected a closing brace and didn't find one. Looking at your code, here's the problem. This closes main, but not so here. And then they'll give you a full fixed version of the code here. And hopefully they won't change anything. AI used to fix your code, but then change things on it. But now it's getting better where it will fix your code here. And again, this is the new one. So again, I can grab that and put it in here and fix it that way. So again, this is a good way to use AI. Now, another way I suggest using AI sometimes is if you don't like the textbooks here, you can actually use AI for your textbook. So I will at times provide you prompts here that you can paste into AI. And you can make up your own, but just to give you an idea here. So I'm just learning Java programming. One of the things we want to make sure we do is there's a very complicated Java. And when we ask in this class, when you ask AI to do stuff, it'll often do it in a more complicated way than you can understand. So you want to try to rein in AI and say, I'm just beginning. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. Do it simply or stuff. So again, you want to be saying things like, I'm just learning Java. Can you explain variables to me, including these variables? And again, this will list out and give you examples, sample codes of this variable and putting it all together here. And again, you can actually just take this code off and then paste it. Now, if I try to take this code and paste it over this code here, I'm going to get into problems here with packages here. We haven't talked too much about packages. So the name of this class should match the name of my Java variable here. So what we generally suggest, well, I generally suggest to you is if you're going to look at this sample code, take just the main here. Don't do the class. Grab all of main and then paste it over all of this main because the class has to be a certain match this thing. And our package has to match the folders here. So the package and the class have to match what you have set up. But now I can just paste that whole main in here and I could run it here. Oops, I can see it. Let's see. And run this. It's there. I could run this there code. So, okay. So again, AI sometimes helps there. So like, and then you could learn things like, please, you can ask it to tell you basic mathematical operators. And I like descriptive names, but not everyone does. So I have part of this in orange saying you can decide if you want to say that or not there. So I can say, show me basic arithmetic operations, and it'll step you through addition there, subtraction. This stuff is very straightforward. There are thousands of examples of this sort of Java stuff online. So AI is not generally going to hallucinate about this sort of stuff. Now, we do run into that problem in advanced classes. I was working out this summer, and it was driving me crazy because I kept using it to generate code, and it would generate this, I would have it generate, 4 pages of code for me to just keep me from having to do that or update that. And every time it would generate, there was this one library and this one line. It was always using a version of the library that was 6 months old there, and it was always getting it wrong. And I swear I had to correct AI 50 times this summer because again, it always it's very consistent in that mistake there. But in this class, in this simple stuff, it should be right on with everything it describes. You shouldn't have to worry about. And again, if there are some areas, I will try to point those out to you there. So like down here, I want to create a beginning lesson for a program to do basic input using a scanner class. And I give it scanner input equals, so I give it the name so it matches what's in our textbook and our examples, provide examples that describe how to do that. And I'm bored, so I'm going to have examples that are related to Pokemon. So again, I added that as extra, but again, you can make this however try to make it interesting to you how you want. I imagine, do you guys know what you know what Pokemon are? You didn't grow up in a Pokemon generation, did you? What did you play, Game Boys? Or what generation of game of them did you play? Color, I assume, right? Or the advanced? Were you a Game Boy Advanced generation, or where did you play Pokemon? On a Game Boy and on a Game Boy Advanced?
Like Nintendo.
Yeah, right. But not see, I grew up, well, my kids grew up with the flip kind. Did you have the flip kind? I always get the communicator kind, flip it up and you do that because that to me is more of a classic one. So, okay, sorry, I got distracted. Okay, so here's the beginning lesson, scanner Pokemon here. So, telling you how to do that, how to read up, so now rather than asking your favorite number, ask what's your favorite Pokemon there and reads that in for this. And again, for a number rather than their favorite number, so how many Pokeballs you want to carry, and all this sort of stuff here. I asked this, I think, to Gemini, and it put the whole lesson as a metaphor, as if you're a Pokemon trainer, and it was just hilarious. It didn't just, I expected it just to do this where we have examples, but it took it the next step, and it was just hilarious. I should have kept that example. I think it was Gemini that did that. It was just hilarious. Okay, so again, you can use AI to walk you through different examples like this there. And I actually think it's as good as the book. And what's nice about it is you can ask it some more things. You can ask it some things like, why is rare candy a double and not an int? So if you're reading through and you just don't understand something, you can just keep asking it, what you can't necessarily do with the textbook. And it's very friendly. Oh, good question. Well, ChatGPT is, it's very, very friendly. At least the way I have mine set up there. So I keep a ChatGPT for this basic class because one thing is this conversation knows that we're working with basic stuff and it'll give very basic answers. I have another version that I keep for my advanced class. So this is Java, but this is my advanced Java. Well, actually, this is Kotlin. I think this is the Java one. here. So again, we're working with, and so the answer, if I pasted the same thing into this chat as I did with this chat, I would get different answers because one knows I'm working with advanced programming in Android, in Java, and one knows should remember that I'm a beginning programmer. So that's what I suggest you do is you have one that kind of remembers what you're in. And I've already told it now once that in my scanner is called input. It should remember that for a while. The context window is, maybe 20,000 words. There's after 20,000 words, it starts to forget, but that's going to be a while for this. Okay. We haven't done a next double there. So he did, and again, I'm just gonna take this code and paste it. So another thing you can do, I find it helpful that when I'm learning stuff to type it in. And again, there is a lot of research showing that if you write things out or you type things out, you will remember them better. So there's something about doing that process in your brain that's helpful. But sometimes I do find shortcuts like just pasting it in, fine too. Because I know now, okay, we've done a whole bunch of these system.out that prints here. And then here's I double instead of an int, a favorite meal here for this there. And then we're going to print out the results here. I'm going to do my own printout of this. Yeah. System dot out dot print line. Food costs, and then we'll print out the favorite meal. I did get it to turn on this thing to put in the variables there for that. So if yours isn't turning on that, I was able to add that here. I'll check it out and under tools, options, code completion, turn on Java here. Tools, options, code completion, go to Java here. And make sure all three of these are checked. And then it should be giving you better code completion here. Yeah, tools, options, and then there's different tabs. You want the code completion tab, and then make sure all three boxes are checked. And then it should fill in the variable names or, when you start typing one in. So if I start typing favorite, it'll bring up the list and I can choose which one I want from the list. I keep, okay, that's done. Okay, so you can do this sort of input. We're going to have you try this out now with Mad Libs here. So we're going to go to, and you're going to post this to the discussion area. You're going to create a Mad Lib here. So I don't know if you're familiar with Mad Libs. So there are a bunch of silly books that were out, and they're on websites and stuff. And what they are is kind of a blank where you ask someone, often you are reading, says, oh, I need an adverb, and they give you an adverb. I say, I need a noun, and you give them a noun, and you write that in. I need an adjective, and you put that in here, there. So, an exclamation here. So you've asked for an exclamation, and mine would be, oh my. And then the adverb might be dancing, or no, I'm trying to think of adverb, not a verb. So happily, Something like that. And then something like a Lee is usually an adverb and a noun. So maybe a raccoon, and an adjective would be, you know, green there. And then you get a weird, oh my, he said happily as he jumped into his convertible raccoon and drove off with his green wife. Sometimes you might want to prompt for things other than just adjective. You might want to say, you know, I want a color, an adjective that's a color, or a noun that's a person or a place or stuff like that. So you can provide a little more detail in here. So your job is we want to do this same sort of stuff. So like here, we could ask the user, you know, what is your college major? And we want a verb in the present tense. We want a Java programming concept, and we want an adjective, and we want a number there. And then we are going to print out, once upon a time, a, you know, nursing student who was trying to blank their way through some homework. It was, you know, so you print this out. So we want you to try that out. So again, go over here. I would create a new project, you know, for this. I'm going to go File, New Project, hit Next, and I'm going to call mine Unit 2 Madlib. So you want to start figuring out what do you want as your Mad Lib there, and when what parts of it are you going to need variables for there. So I want my Mad Lib again. Well, here, let's go back to the example here. Once upon a time, a blank student, I want a college major. So I'm going to do this one. You should do your own. So I want a college major. So that is, and again, almost all of these are going to be strings because we're going to put words in here. So I'm going to want a string variable, college major. I'm going to read that in. So I'm going to go system dot in. I need a scanner, so I have to declare my scanner. So I actually like to do that very top. Scanner input equals new scanner system dot in. I need to do that import up at the top to get rid of that. So it does that import up there. Okay, so I know I have input scan. Now I declared my variable. I can do college major equals input dot next line here. Now, if I run this, it's going to just sit here and expect me to type in a college major. So this is a good program for psychics to do. If you can read the computer's mind, this works. It's wanting me to type in, I'm a HIM major there. So remember that anytime before you do an input, you want to do a print. You want to tell them what they want to do. So I'm going to say system.out.println. Enter a college major. Now, we'll do that. Enter college major. I'm going to be, let's be accounting. There. So you're going to want to prompt them and declare strings for your Mad Lib here. And read in variables, and then eventually we're going to print this, the Mad Lib out here. So spend some time going through this, trying to think of a Mad Lib that you want It'll be fun. They're often fun if they're trying to tell a story or something humorous, or other people in the class, you're gonna have to run other people's ones, and other people's are gonna run yours because you'll post them in the discussion area. So if you can make them somewhat entertaining, it, other people are gonna have to run this program and fill it out. So it's nice if it's somewhat entertaining there. So just be aware of that. So think, what do you want it to do? Pick some topic. So. Oh. Yep. So we're going to share these to the discussion area here. So inside the Unit 1, Unit 2 discussions, we're going to post this. So we first want you to post, run your program, fill in the prompts words, and take a screenshot of the output. I'm actually want to post, either a screenshot or a copy of the output here and your Java code. So I'm going to show you. So I've gone here. I'm going to try this out. I'm just going to hit new thread. Simple example from class. Okay, so I'm going to post my code in here. So I made this Mad Lib. I'm going to delete these. I'm just going to grab this whole code segment here, paste it in here. I'm going to say something like, here is my fun mystery story generator. Okay, so I have my code there, and then I'm going to paste in here is a sample run. And I ran it, and here's what it looked like. Make that a little bigger, format it a little bit so it looks a little nicer there. Now you can play around here when you're pasting code in here. Sometimes it's fun. You can highlight the code and switch it to code version, and it'll show it in a certain way here. Similar with output if you want. Okay, so that's my code. I'm going to post this, and I'll show it here. Now, if you want to try someone else's code and you do want to do that because it's a requirement, you can. Let's see if Deidre's code is in. Oops, let's go back to the discussion. Here's her code. Now, if I take this entire code and try to paste it in there, it's probably going to not work. And I replace my entire code with it. It won't run, again, because of some problems with the Java class and stuff like that. So again, when you're taking other people's code, I would take just the main. So again, here's your Java public class. I'm going to just take the main. And in fact, she didn't have, and then go down to here, grab that whole main and replace my main with her main, or else create a new example and then just paste it into that one there. And then you can run it here. Okay. So, and you don't have to do this sometime before Sunday night. You want to be doing this stuff here. So if you get it done today, that's fine. Post some examples or post your example here. Again, we want to, oops. So you want to do a couple posts here. You've got to do an initial post with your code and your output there, and 2 comments where you run their code with your inputs and post the results with your unique inputs there. So run 2 people's codes. So that's what you're required to do. Okay. And now I'll try to quit on time today. Sound good?
You don't need straight. Use your calm.